Hello, 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 and welcome. Welcome to the Cloud English Podcast. My name is Luke. It is January 14th, 2163. It's great to have you here. It's great to be here. Today we're going to be talking about accents. We're going to be talking about different aspects of different accents. We're going to be focusing on the R sound, specifically where it is and some of the differences between the American accent and the British accent. We're going to talk a little bit about the schwa sound, which is another really important sound when you want to sound more natural as you speak English. We're going to get into that. We're going to, what else are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about, what else? Oh, phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs for socializing and maybe some other stuff. We'll see how it goes. But those are the main things we're going to be talking about. So I hope you're ready to pick up some natural sounds when you are speaking. Let's see. It is, the 14th. So hopefully everyone is done with their holidays. I say hopefully. I don't know why I say hopefully. For me, personally, I feel all holidayed out. After the holidays happen, I just want to get back to it. I'm exhausted. It's too much holidays. Too many holidays happening in December and January. I can't do any more. I'm done. I want to work. It's a lot. Am I the only one who's like that? Are you like that? Am I crazy? Is that crazy? Would it be great to have holidays all the time? I personally don't think so. That sounds like a nightmare to me. Speaking of nightmares, something really bizarre happened. So my mother-in-law is currently staying with my wife and I and our newborn son. And last night I had a really bizarre nightmare. And it was terrifying. One of those ones that's not just scary, but you wake up and you feel like, am I still in it? That was surreal, bizarre, and something almost otherworldly about it. Anyway, one of the things that happened was, well, I don't want to give too many specifics away, but one of the things that happened was there was a very tall person, a very tall, scary man in the dream. And it was really scary. And when I woke up in the morning, I told my wife about it. Really weird. And one of the things that happened is that my son woke up crying at around the time I had the dream. So I woke up from the dream, and right at that time, my son woke up crying in his crib, which he doesn't usually do at that time. Okay, so that was weird. Well, I found out later in the day, today, and this, you may not believe this, but then this is crazy. My mother-in-law, later in the day, said, last night I had a really strange dream. And the dream that she described was weirdly similar to my dream, including a very tall, scary man. Not like a normal height, tall. Not like, 6'4", but very, very tall. And I don't want to say too much, but did the same thing in the dream that he did in my dream. Okay, what are the odds of that? That two people would have essentially the same dream, both featuring an extremely tall man, very tall, with, a bad person, scary. doing the same thing in the dream. And then so I asked, well, what time did that happen? What time did you have that dream? And I already knew the answer before I asked. I knew it was going to be the same time that I woke up from my dream. The same time that my son woke up at an unusual time, crying. I don't know. I can't explain that. Theories are welcome. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. It's weird. Weird things happen. I don't even necessarily believe in weird things, right? But the last 12 months, some weird stuff has happened. And that's definitely one of them. If that's not weird, I don't know what weird is. I think I've shared some other stories, but as stuff happens, I will share. But geez, what do you do about that? I don't even have a theory. I don't necessarily believe anything, but I have no explanation. Bizarre. Anyway, one thing that I've been doing recently, I mean, you may have seen my courses on ChatGPT and using AI, ChatGPT and Bard specifically. Well, there are a lot of different ways to use those tools, and I use both of them a lot in my personal life and for work, for all kinds of things. So I want to share one interesting thing that you can try, just if you want to, if you're going to take a break, right, and you're going to, relax for 20 minutes and you want to do something, you could open your phone and scroll through TikToks mindlessly, if you like, if you want to. But there are other things that you could do that might be a little bit more engaging or stimulating. Now, I like to study and read and listen to podcasts and read books and listen to audiobooks. But one thing I tried recently is having back and forth conversations with ChatGPT. The live conversation feature is pretty good. So we're going to do something interesting here at the start before we get into some of our accent stuff. I just want to show you something that's kind of cool. I think it's cool. I just want to show you. So let's hop over here to ChatGPT. And we're going to put in a prompt. This is, just a quickly written prompt, no big deal. As you can see, I haven't even spelled things correctly here. This is not a very carefully written prompt. It doesn't have to be in general, unless you want to be really specific. Okay, I'm a space explorer. I'm going to play a game with ChatGPT. I'm a space explorer from Earth who has just arrived on a strange new planet after a 500-year hibernation. Okay, this is just a science fiction premise, a classic premise, right? Okay, create a mystery that takes place on this planet with compelling characters to interact with, vivid landscapes, interact with vivid descriptions of this bizarre world, challenges to deal with, and a mystery to uncover. Okay, create a mystery and a mystery to uncover. Again, you can see it's a little redundant. This is just a quickly written prompt. Don't judge me. You will narrate what is happening and take on the voice of any speaker characters I need to interact with. So characters who speak, right? Give me plenty of chances to make choices and interact as we go. As I go, provide situations that give me clues to unravel a bizarre mystery, add danger and twists to make it exciting. If you understand, say, I understand, and then wait for me to say, let's begin before we start. So let's just try this, and what we should get is basically, I understand. Okay. So that's what we get. I understand. Rather poorly written prompt, if I may say so. But hey, now what we do is we hop over to the app. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, now we're in the app. Gonna straighten myself out here. There we go. Okay. So now, oh, hold on a second. Let me find that chat. Now I need to find that chat in the app. Okay. Okay, here we go. So now we're in the app. We have the same prompt that I just sent. And what we're going to do is we're going to try a voice chat. Let's begin.
You awaken from your hibernation pod, the gentle hum of the spacecraft fading as you step onto the surface of the mysterious planet. The sky is a swirling kaleidoscope of colors, unlike anything on Earth. Your mission, to explore this new world and uncover its secrets. As you survey the landscape, you notice 3 distinct paths leading away from your landing site. 1, a dense, luminous forest with trees that seem to whisper in a language you can't understand. 2, a series of towering, crystalline structures to the east, reflecting the planet's strange sky. 3, a dark, foreboding cave entrance to the west, from which a faint, pulsating light emanates. Which path will you choose to explore first?
Well, I feel a bit nervous about the whole situation, having just arrived in this planet. So I think first I'm going to have a snack, and I want to figure out first what I have to eat in the ship as a snack and maybe as a beverage to relax a bit. And then after we have a snack and a little rest and I get my bearings on this brand new planet, I'm sure I'm tired after sleeping for 500 years, I think I'll head toward the cave, which has the weird glow coming from inside.
You head back to the ship to gather your thoughts and have a snack. Inside, you find a small kitchenette stocked with a variety of preserved foods, nutrient-rich bars, dehydrated fruits, and a selection of beverages including water, a calming herbal tea, and a high-energy electrolyte drink. After enjoying your snack and sipping some herbal tea, you feel more grounded and ready to explore. The cave with the pulsating light seems like an intriguing place to start your adventure on this alien planet. You gather your exploration gear, including a flashlight, a communicator linked to your ship, and a multi-tool, and head towards the cave. As you approach, the light seems to pulse in rhythm with your footsteps, creating an eerie sense of anticipation. You're at the mouth of the cave now. The air is cooler here, and the light inside is a soft blue, pulsating gently. You notice that the walls are lined with a strange luminescent moss. Do you enter the cave to investigate further, or would you like to do something else before entering?
Before I enter the cave, I want to look around the entrance to make sure that there are no symbols or any sort of writing that I might be able to decipher. Then I will go into the cave with my laser gun drawn, just in case I'm attacked by any strange or creatures who want to eat me.
Carefully, you examine the cave entrance. The rocky surface is smooth and worn, but you do notice faint markings. They're not immediately recognizable as any known language or symbols from Earth. Intrigued, you take a few photographs with your communicator for later analysis. Feeling prepared, you draw your laser gun, holding it at the ready. The cool, alien air of the cave brushes against your skin as you step inside. The blue light intensifies, revealing a path that winds deeper into the cave. As you move forward, the cave opens into a large chamber. The source of the light is a cluster of glowing crystals on the ceiling, casting an otherworldly glow. Suddenly, you hear a soft, melodic sound echoing through the chamber. It's unlike anything you've ever heard, a symphony of chimes and whispers.
Ooh.
Ahead, there are 2 paths. One, to your left, the path slopes downwards, leading to a lower chamber where the sound seems to be originating. 2, to your right, a narrow passage is lined with more of the luminescent moss, and the crystals seem to be more densely packed. Which path do you choose to investigate? Remember, you can always backtrack if needed.
I want to more closely examine the glowing crystals. I think I will use any tools that I have to analyze the crystals to see if I can figure out the source of the glow. I will use my senses. I will use my sense of smell, but I will not yet touch the crystals. I want to really take stock of the inside of this cave, carefully looking at but not touching the moss, carefully looking at the pulsating crystals before I do anything further.
You approach the glowing crystals with a sense of caution and curiosity. Utilizing the tools in your multi-tool kit, you begin a thorough analysis. First, you observe the crystals visually. They are of various sizes, some as small as pebbles, others as large as your fist. Their glow is steady, with a rhythm that almost seems like breathing. The light they emit is soft, filling the chamber with a calming ambiance. Next, you use a compact spectrometer from your toolkit to analyze the light spectrum of the crystals. The device hums as it processes the data, indicating that the crystals are emitting a unique form of bioluminescence, possibly due to some form of microbial life within them. Carefully, you smell the air around the crystals. It's crisp and clean with a faint mineral scent, but there's nothing that suggests toxicity or danger. Turning your attention to the moss, you note its delicate structure. It's like a fine, luminescent velvet, covering the walls in patches. Using a magnifier, you can see the intricate network of filaments that make up each strand of moss. Your tools reveal that both the moss and the crystals are unlike any terrestrial forms. They are part of this planet's unique ecosystem, perhaps even playing a role in its environmental balance. Having taken stock of your surroundings and gathered valuable data, you ponder your next move. Will you continue down one of the paths, or is there something else in the chamber that catches your interest?
In a sudden wave of reckless euphoria, slice off a large chunk of the glowing moss and put it into my mouth and begin chewing it. I have thrown caution to the wind. I chew it and then swallow the moss and hope that I don't have some sort of allergic reaction, or hope that it doesn't take over my mind and control me like some sort of automaton.
As you chew the luminescent moss, its texture is surprisingly pleasant, soft and slightly spongy. It has a mild, earthy taste, not unlike fresh herbs. You swallow, half expecting some immediate dramatic effect. Moments pass, and you feel fine, actually more than fine. You feel energized, as if the moss has invigorated you. Your senses seem heightened, your mind clear.
Ooh.
There's no sign of an allergic reaction or any
Okay.
adverse effects.
All right, good
It
moss.
appears
It's
that
good
the moss
moss.
may have beneficial properties,
Ooh,
possibly
beneficial
nutritional
properties.
or medicinal.
Oh.
This discovery is fascinating, but also a reminder of the unpredictability of alien ecosystems. While this risk paid off, others might not. Feeling renewed, you refocus on your exploration. The chamber with the melodic sounds to the left and the crystal-lined passage to the right still await your investigation. Which path will you take now, or is there something else you wish to do in the chamber?
All right, I'm going to stop. We have work to do, but that is pretty cool as a way to as a way to interact, as a way to have a conversation. As you go, you encounter characters. You may encounter a creature who can talk. The cool thing about it is you create the world, so you can specify that you want it to be hyper realistic, from the 1890s, and it's a detective story like Sherlock Holmes, and you are Holmes, and you have to uncover clues as you go along. Well, that's pretty cool, right? And you're kind of playing a game in your mind with ChatGPT. I think it's pretty interesting. I mean, I was interested in what was going to happen. I think I was going to go left. The path to the left seemed more interesting to me, but I don't want to take up too much time with that. But anyway, there's a lot to play with there, and just sort of Think of it as an early version of the holodeck from Star Trek. So if you've seen Star Trek The Next Generation, you'll know that there is a thing on the ship called a holodeck, and the holodeck allows you to basically use your imagination to create a world, anything. It's basically like this, except it uses it turns energy into matter. It uses a matter or an energy to matter converter process. It's science fiction to create that world, and so you're inside of it. Basically, it's like what we just did, except not just an audio version, a full immersive world that you can live inside of. I think we'll get there someday. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So play around with that. Let me know if you come up with anything interesting. It beats scrolling TikTok, in my opinion. All right, we're going to talk about the R sound a little bit. We're going to talk about the R sound. The R sound is difficult for many English learners, but also different depending on the English accent, the native English accent. For example, Americans say the R sound one way, and people from England say it the same way, but also another way. It's a little bit more complex. And so there's a lot to explore here, and we're going to look at some specific examples. I want to lay a foundation first, and then we will get into 3 tongue twisters. Tongue twisters are things you can do to practice sounds. So at the end, we're going to look at tongue twisters which have the R sound at the beginning, tongue twister with a tongue twister which has the R sound in the middle, and a tongue twister which has the R sound at the end. So make sure to stick around for all of those, because it really is a matter of practice to get those sounds down, to say them accurately. And I would say it's not that hard, except I know it can be. Right? Okay, so first, let us set a bit of a foundation here. What I want you to do is listen carefully to the R sounds in this video. This is Bobby Lee, and the other guy is a Singaporean comedian, stand-up comedian. He's quite famous. He was in Shang-Chi. He's famous. And his name is Ronnie Chung. I think it's Chung or Chung. I can't remember. He's from Malaysia, and you'll hear that his accent is more like his accent, specifically of the pronunciation of the R sound, is more like the British R. But we have to talk about it, so let's watch this. It's very short.
When I say car, what do you hear?
Car.
Cartoon.
Yeah, that's no. You say cartoon.
Yeah.
There's no R when you say it.
And it
Are you one of those Asians that can't say the R?
What do you hear?
So he says, are you one of those Asians that can't say the R? But actually, it's more like he's just using close to, he has a bit of that Singaporean English sound, Singlish, they call it, but it's more like British English. Let's listen to that again.
Car.
So what he hears when Ronnie says car,
Say car, what do you hear?
ka, so at the end of the word, you can hear there that it's an open sound, ka, ah, almost like there isn't an R there. It's very open. And that's what Bobby hears, right?
I say car, what do you hear?
Car.
But how would Bobby Lee say it? Bobby Lee is an American. How would he pronounce that? He would pronounce that as car. 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 Okay, so there's a difference in the R sound, but does that mean it's always different? No, not exactly. It's more complicated.
Cartoon.
Okay, now there he says Same beginning sound, car, right? But he adds another piece. Cartoon.
Cartoon.
Yeah, that's no. You say cartoon.
Yeah.
There's no R when you say it.
So Bobby Lee would say cartoon, and Ronnie is saying cartoon. Cartoon. Ka-toon. And Bobby would say car-toon. That's the American pronunciation of the R, and then either the Singaporean or the British pronunciation of the R. Ka. But again, is it always that way? Listen.
And it should
Are you
be-
one of
what
those
should-
Asians who can't say the R?
I think I can say the R. My name is Ronnie. I should.
Okay. My name is Ronnie. And he does then say So, what's going on here? When he says C-A-R, it's ka. And so the ending of the word has the R, and it's that open sound. Singaporean or British pronunciation would be ah. Americans would say R, car, ka. Now, if it's in the middle of the word, he uses the word cartoon. Americans would say car, same tune, cartoon. And Ronnie would says ka-toon, ka-toon. Okay, so there again is that same difference. But his name is Ronnie, and when he says his name, it is Ronnie with the sound. Now, how would Bobby Lee, the American, say it? Ronnie, the same. Oh, okay. So sometimes the R sound for American English, British English, Singaporean English, whatever, sometimes the R sound is the same and sometimes it's different. That's it. That's all you need to know, really. But we need to know a little bit more about position. So for the American R, the simple thing, the nice thing about it, is that it's the same pretty much all the time. If it's at the beginning of a word, it's Ronnie. If it's in the middle of the word, it's You curl the tongue back, and it's this strong R pronunciation. Ronnie, but also cartoon. In the middle of the word, it's the same. If it's at the end of the word, it is also the same. So, car, Ronnie, cartoon, car. So that's pretty simple, right? Easy. Now, for the British pronunciation, it is slightly different. The R sound at the beginning of the word, and then sometimes in the middle, is the same. But if the R sound is in front of a consonant, or if it's at the end of the word, then it's going to be that more open sound, cartoon. So again, if it's at the end of the word, or if the R sound is in front of a consonant, like T, for example, here, it is more likely to be that more open sound. Okay? If it's at the beginning, then it will be the same as the American R. Okay? So let's practice this. I said we're going to do some tongue twisters. Let's practice some tongue twisters to get a feeling for the R pronunciation. And we're going to start with a tongue twister that has R at the beginning. Ready? Rory's rural ruler rarely rests. Again, say it after me. Say the whole thing. Rory's rural ruler rarely rests. Okay? Now let's try the second one, the second line here. Rugged ranges rise, rapidly retreating. Rugged ranges rise, rapidly retreating. Okay, now that's something to practice. So you can just put words together that start with R if that's what you struggle with, and practice those until it feels natural. Now let's try in the middle of the word. Berries, barriers, barely, berry, rare berries. berries, barriers, barely berry, rare berries. Now the next one. Ferryman, ferry, furry, ferrets to fiery forests. And again, ferryman, ferry, furry, ferrets to fiery forests. Okay, now let's try at the end. And of course, this is American English pronunciation. I'm an American, so I'm teaching you how Americans say it. If you want to practice British pronunciation, okay, that's fine too. But don't learn it from me. Okay, now let's do at the end. Here we go. I'll read the whole thing, then you repeat after me. Stir the flour to power the shower. Stir the flour to power the shower. Next one. Fear the spear near the rear gear. And again, fear the spear near the rear gear. Okay. So, how was it? How is it? Is it challenging to say the R sound at different places in the word? Or do you say it a little bit differently than I say it? Do you say it more like the British English pronunciation? That's okay if you do. That's okay. The important thing is to be able to hear the difference and make sure you can say the R sound how you want to say it so that it sounds pretty natural. Again, you do not have to pronounce it like an American. I'm not telling you that. But you need to be able to hear those differences, and you need to, if you struggle with the R sound, practice examples until you can get it right, until it is a habit. Okay, so if you have any questions about this, let me know in the comments. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and also get a free course in the links in the description. Okay. So that video, I think, clip is perfect, the difference. At the beginning or sometime in the middle. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Now, how do you know if you've got it right? How do you know if you're saying the R sound correctly? Well, that's pretty simple, actually. It's simple, but it's not easy. You have to be able to hear the difference between the sounds that you make and the sounds that you're trying to imitate. So if just now you were trying to imitate my sounds exactly when I was saying those R words, well, are you doing exactly the same thing? You would know that if your listening skills are very, very sharp, and you can hear, for example, the difference between car and ka. And if you can hear the difference between, for example, the L and the R, because a lot of people mix up the L and the R sound. Different places in the world have different issues with the R sound. It's interesting how different places, depending on where you are, there are different ways to struggle with it, right? So I think the key there is to develop your ear so that, oh yeah, when I say it, it sounds like kalu, 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 la 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 lu lu. That doesn't sound like So I hear when I say lu, lu. Well, it doesn't sound the same. Okay, so once you can hear the differences, then you can ask yourself, okay, what do I have to do with my mouth to make it sound the same? And you can hear me tell you that you have to curl your tongue up and back. So you can play with that in your mouth, or moving your tongue around until it sounds about right. That sounds right. Okay, that sounds pretty good. So it's a process of experimentation with your ear being the standard that tells you whether you're on the right track or not. If you cannot hear those differences, then it's hopeless. How can you learn it? You can't. So, the first step really is to have that sharp listening ability and that deep self-awareness to be able to hear, okay, what sound exactly did I make, right? What sound did I make? Okay. Okay, let's go on. One sec. I'm sending a message. We went out for dinner earlier, and Pi was crying. He was crying and crying and crying. He usually doesn't cry. He's usually very good in the car seat. He sits quietly in the car, and he's just kind of cool and looking around and looking up and just hanging out. But for some reason tonight after dinner in the car, he was crying. So we had to stop several times to take him out of the car seat to calm him down. So it took forever to get home just because we kept stopping to take him out, to play with him a little bit, help him calm down. And finally, he was able to calm down, which is good. And we were finally able to get home. Okay. All right. Now we go to the schwa sound. Okay. If you don't know what the schwa sound is, don't worry. I will explain the schwa sound. It's actually fairly simple. Again, not easy, but simple. And it's going to be more of an exploration of the schwa sound. Okay, so let's hop over to the blackboard here, and we'll explore. We will explore the schwa sound. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Okay. There is a sound that we could call part of native spoken English, and we call it the schwa sound. The schwa sound. Now, what is the schwa sound? Well, this is just a name for a sound that can be in the place of other vowels. So it's kind of a vowel sound, but it can be in the place of all other vowels. A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. And we're going to look at some examples, right? But first I want to just show you what the sound looks like. Here it is. Are you ready? Now, that might sound like U, and it is probably closest to the U, the short U sound. That is the relaxed sound. Except sometimes you can barely even hear it because it goes by so quickly. This sound is very important in spoken English because it is a big part of what makes a word sound natural when it is spoken. If I say a word like potato, and I say every single syllable with the same stress, if I say every single syllable with the same stress, right? then that is going to sound odd. It's going to sound very formal. It's going to sound very robotic. Listen to this. Potato. Potato. I want to have some potatoes. I want to eat potatoes. Does that sound natural to you? Well, hopefully your answer is no. It doesn't sound natural. What we do with words is, to make them sound natural, stress some syllables more than others. And if a syllable is stressed, then it will not be the schwa sound. But if a syllable is unstressed, it may be pronounced with the schwa sound. So let's look at that specific example here. P-O-T-A-T-O. Okay, so now we've said we do not say potato. Okay, so what do we say? We say potato, 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 potato. So a couple things that are interesting are happening here. We changed this T to a light D sound. So instead of potato, it's potato, potato. So this T is still there, and then this T becomes a light D. Potato, potato, potato. Okay. And then, do you hear every single vowel, the O, the A, and the O? If you answer yes, you're wrong. It's not. You hear this one, te, and then you probably hear this one, O. But here you do not hear po or pa. You hear put, like that. Put. That is the that I told you is the schwa sound. That's the schwa sound. So, potato. The schwa sound is here. It is this, what we could call an unstressed syllable. An unstressed syllable. So what's the stressed syllable? Well, this one is the stressed syllable, the second syllable. This word has how many syllables? Potato, 3 syllables. It is a 3-syllable word. And the second one is stressed. The second syllable, te, is stressed. The first one is totally unstressed. And so it has the schwa sound. And then the last one is kind of neutral. It's not stressed. It's not totally unstressed. We can still hear the vowel O, but it doesn't have a lot of stress on it. So, which one sounds more natural? Potato or potato? Potato, 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 potato. That sounds nice, right? Sounds very natural. Well, again, why does it sound natural? Because we're stressing different syllables and we're using the schwa sound for not always the unstressed syllable, but often unstressed syllables. And also, we're changing this second T to a light D. And that's what makes it sound so natural. That's what makes it sound so nice. Now, we're going to look at 4 words, and we're going to explore the schwa sound through these 4 words. I want to say one thing before we do that. This is not about rules. The schwa sound is not super strict, right? So people say words slightly differently. Yes, there is official pronunciation, but sometimes is that the schwa sound or just the U sound? You know, sometimes it's not super clear. But generally, we can say, oh, that syllable's unstressed and it's not a very strong sound, so maybe that's the schwa sound. The line is often a little bit fuzzy, but we can explore this. And another thing that I want to make very clear, every vowel can be the schwa sound. A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. Okay? So let's look at 4 words. First one. Okay, now, what do you see here? Well, if I say this like a robot, then I will say, I or ni, animation. Now, that's not wrong, but if we say this really naturally, this I becomes the schwa sound. And so instead of saying clear I sound, animation, we instead say so this becomes more like a almost a n. It's actually the schwa sound, but it's more like a n. And then this is the stress syllable. Animation. Now, as an interesting point, if you have a word that has tion at the end, and tion is the end of the word, usually, almost always, the syllable that goes right in front of tion will be stressed. And so that's almost a rule. It's actually more of a pattern that you can remember when it comes to word stress. If you have that word that ends in tion, like caution, or motion, or emotion, or animation, if you have that tion at the end, then it's probably going to be stressed right in front of that, okay? So how do we say this differently? Animation, 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 instead of animation, animation, animation. Now, is this the schwa sound? If this were the schwa sound, it would be like this: animation, 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 instead of animation, animation, animation. So the A is there. It is not a stressed syllable, but it's kind of a neutral syllable. So we can say that one is not the schwa sound, okay? Animation, 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 animation. Okay, let's look at a longer word here. MISC, and that is how it is often abbreviated, by the way, MISC, ELLANEOUS. Okay. Now for this one, it's kind of unique because eus is actually 2 syllables. Eus, eus, eus. Okay, so listen to this one. Miscellaneous, 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 miscellaneous. Okay, now, do you hear a clear I sound? Miscellaneous. No. So probably we've got the schwa here, because it's not miscellaneous usually. Now, if someone pronounces it miscellaneous, miscellaneous, okay, then we can say, all right, that's the I sound. That's not the schwa sound. And again, not a hard rule. If someone says it like that, you can't say, you're wrong, idiot, moron. No, they're not wrong. That's just how they say it. It's okay. This is definitely the schwa sound. Miscellaneous, this almost not there. So whenever you have these unstressed vowels in syllables that are almost not there, you can almost not even hear them, then likely it's going to be the schwa sound. Miscellaneous, miscellaneous. So this is closer. So this is, I would say, right on the line, in the way I would say it, most people would say it, right on the line between just the regular I sound and the schwa sound. Again, some people will say miscellaneous and some people will say miscellaneous, right? That's on the line. This one is definitely the schwa sound. And then laneous. Okay, so that is the stressed syllable there. And then eus. No, we can hear the E very clearly, so that one is just the regular E sound, eus. But this one is I would again say right on the line between a schwa sound and a us sound. If we say miscellaneous, us, and it's a very clear sound, okay, maybe that's the short U. If we say miscellaneous, cius, that's pretty close to almost not being there, cius. So that might be the schwa sound. Again, you could say that's the schwa sound or not the schwa sound. You could say this one is the schwa sound or not the schwa sound. It's pretty close. This one is very clearly the schwa sound, and this one is very clearly the stressed syllable. So miscellaneous. Okay? So it's an exploration. Now, the question, I think, is how do you know? Well, I suppose you could look it up. But again, since there are no hard rules about which sounds are schwa, looking it up could be a challenge because you may find different answers in different places. So it really comes down to, I believe, the best tool you have, which is your ears. These beautiful 2 holes in the sides of your head that you can use to hear, hey, that's stressed. That's a stressed syllable. Or, oh, that is not a stressed syllable. Definitely not. That may be a schwa sound. If it's barely there and it's skipped over very quickly and it doesn't exactly sound like its sound, like I or you or O, then yeah, maybe it is the schwa sound. Okay, let's do 2 more. INEXCUSABLE. Okay, inexcusable. Listen, now listen. Use your ears. Inexcusable. Inexcusable. Okay, so inexcusable. I think that the I is there. I think that's the I sound. Some people may say and that again may be close to the schwa sound, but I think that's the I. Inexcusable. I think this is the schwa sound. Okay. Now, if you pronounced it inexcusable, then the excusable. That's the difference. Let me say this again as a robot. Inexcusable. Okay. Very robotic, not very natural. Inexcusable. Right on the line with the I sound, this is pretty clearly the schwa sound. Excusable. It's almost not there, so that's the schwa sound. Excusable. Okay, well, this is clearly the stressed syllable. And then zibble. I think this one is the schwa sound. Because it's zibble. And you're going from the Z here, it's a S, but it's a Z sound. Zibble. So you're not really focusing on the A. If you focused on the A, zabble, okay, then I suppose you would say that's not the schwa sound. So I think we have 2 schwa sounds here. Inexcusable. Okay? And that sounds, of course, much more natural. Now let's look at a fun one. Last one here. HIPPOTAMUS. Okay. So let me say this like a robot, as I have been so far. Hippopotamus. Sounds unnatural, right? All right, let's try it naturally. Hippopotamus. hippopotamus, hippopotamus. Okay, so once again, and I think we're seeing a trend here with I. I is often on the line for these unstressed syllables. Hippo. I think this one you could say is either I or schwa. It's right on the line. I don't even know. So close, right? It may be I hip. It's close. It's close between being totally unstressed. I lean toward I. I lean toward that being the I sound. Okay, hippopotamus. Is that the ah sound or the o sound? No. So this is definitely schwa. Okay, so we have a clear schwa sound. It's almost not there, right? It's almost not there. Hippo. Pa. Okay, so a pa. Pa. All right, clearly that is the stressed syllable. That's stressed. Tumus. So if this were potamus, then that would be the short A sound. Ta, a, or ah, tamus. Ta, or ah would be the short A sound. But this is tumus. It's moving very quickly, and it's this neutral tumus. Pa, t. So this one is also the schwa sound. And this mus. I think, just like the I think that's closer to you because it's mus. It's a little longer. It's not super fast. Potamus. Again, you could argue that that's the schwa sound. It's kind of close to it, but it's not stressed. Now, the other thing here is that this T is that light D sound. We talked about. Instead of potamus, it's probably potamus. Oh, that must there. I'm leaning toward the schwa on that one. I'm conflicted. And that's okay. You know, that's fine. I think this one could be either a pretty unstressed short U sound or schwa. I think this one could be a pretty unstressed short I sound or schwa. Okay. So, hippopotamus. Now, the interesting thing about this is, if we do the abbreviated version of this word, which is HIPPO, which is what people often say when they see a hippopotamus jumping out of the river and chasing them down, they don't say, "Oh no, I'm being chased by a hippopotamus." They say, "I'm being chased by a hippo. So hippo, that no longer is the schwa sound. If it's shorter, it is pronounced in full, clearly as the O sound. I'm being chased by a hippo. So there, that word hippo, clearly has an I and clearly has an O. So it doesn't have any schwa sounds. Pretty interesting. Okay, so I encourage you to try this out for yourself, looking at other words. Pick 3 to 4 or 5 words that are longer than 2 syllables, 3, 4, 5 syllable words, and then listen to them pronounced. The key to getting the pronunciation right and detecting the schwa sound is using your ears. Listen to an online recording of the pronunciation. Any dictionary or Google or whatever, anything allows you to click on the sound and listen and listen and listen and listen and listen. That's why I said each one, 40 times, so you can listen many times. You hear, you can label it. You can write it down and label it just like I did. You can hear the stressed syllables, you can hear the unstressed syllables, and you can hear the ones that are the schwa sound. And some, again, are, is it the schwa sound or just an unstressed syllable, not super clear? That's okay. Label what you think it is, right? And then practice it until your sound sounds like what you're hearing. Match it. This is developing your listening skills and is also developing your ability to pronounce things naturally. Honestly, the schwa sound is a very big part of what makes natural pronunciation actually natural. It's very important to focus on. It's very important to know. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And also, check out my courses in the links in the description. Okay? Okay. Let's see. I want to go over one other thing here. Give me a second. Oops. It's my image from last week. Where is my picture? Hold on. I really want to continue that cave story. I'm dying to go down the path on the left. See what happens. You know what? I'm going to do it. Why can't I do it? I can do whatever I want. I was going to do it for just give me a couple more minutes. I'm curious. I'm curious what happens next. I want to see if I run into any creatures. I want to see if I encounter any strange creatures. Here we go. I want to slowly, cautiously, paying attention to my surroundings, munching on some of that glowing moss, head down the path to the left.
Energized by the moss and with a sense of cautious optimism, you head down the left path. As you descend, the melodic sounds become clearer, more harmonious. It's like nothing you've ever heard, an otherworldly symphony that resonates with the very core of this alien planet. The path leads you to a lower chamber, larger than the first. Here, the source of the sound becomes apparent, a group of creatures unlike anything in your earthly experience. They are bioluminescent, much like the moss and crystals, with translucent, flowing forms that seem to dance in the air. They move in harmony, creating the enchanting sounds you've been hearing.
Whoa.
As you enter, they pause, turning their attention towards you. It's a moment of mutual curiosity. They seem as intrigued by your presence as you are by theirs. You notice that the chamber is filled with artifacts, strange instruments, sculptures, and what appears to be a form of writing etched into the walls. These creatures might be intelligent, perhaps the guardians of this planet's mysteries.
Whoa.
Do you attempt to communicate with these beings, explore the artifacts, or observe them from a distance to gather more information?
I am going to slowly holster my laser gun because I do not want to signal any hostile intentions. I'm then going to take out a protein bar from my pack and gently place it on the ground as if to politely offer them a gift, something they may want to eat. I'm then going to stand up straight, raise my hands in the air, and I'm going to, in my most respectful, polite voice, say, "Hello, my name is Luke. I am from the planet Earth. I mean you no harm. I am a curious traveler. Please enjoy this protein bar as an offering of my gratitude for allowing me to explore this beautiful planet." Maybe too much. I said too much. I should have just said hello.
As you holster your gun and present the protein bar, the creatures seem to respond to your gesture of peace. They hover closer, their bioluminescence pulsating gently as if in response to your words. One of the beings approaches the protein bar. It extends a tendril-like appendage, touching the bar with what seems like curiosity. After a moment, it retracts its appendage, and the group emits a series of harmonious chimes. You sense this is their way of acknowledging your gift and greeting. The creatures
so they
then
like
begin to
protein
move
bars.
around the chamber, their movements creating a captivating display of light and sound.
Wow.
It's as if they're inviting you to explore the artifacts and writings on the walls. You realize that you've
Should I
just
shoot them with my
established a
laser gun?
peaceful first contact with an intelligent alien species. This is a momentous occasion. Do you wish to attempt further communication with these beings, explore the artifacts in more detail, or take a different course of action?
I wipe some of the moss from my mouth in an effort to hide it in case they find it offensive that I ate part of their cave walls. And then I slowly make my way over to some of the artifacts inside of this chamber.
With a discreet wipe, you remove traces of the moss from your mouth, careful not to offend these gentle beings. You then turn your attention to the
Smart.
artifacts scattered throughout the chamber. The artifacts are varied and intriguing. There are instruments that resemble flutes and harps, but with designs unlike anything you've seen. They are made from materials that seem to be a blend of organic and crystalline elements. As you examine them, you can't help but wonder about the music they might produce. You also notice sculptures that appear to capture moments of life on this planet, including various creatures and scenes of what could be daily activities. These sculptures provide a glimpse into the culture and lifestyle of these beings. Most intriguing are the etchings on the walls. They seem to tell a story, perhaps the history of this planet or the species you've encountered. The symbols are complex and beautiful, arranged in patterns that suggest a language. As you examine these artifacts, the beings observe you with what seems like curiosity and a willingness to share their culture. Do you wish to study the etchings further, attempt to play one of the instruments, or engage with the beings to learn more about them and their world?
I want to try to figure out how to communicate with the beings before I explore the artifacts further, or try to understand the figures on the wall. And so I turn back toward the beings, and I raise my arms again in a very friendly way, and I say, "Do you know how to communicate in the way that I can understand? My name is Luke. I am from Earth. Hello."
As you address the beings, they gather around, their luminous forms pulsating gently. One of them moves closer, its light patterns changing rhythmically, as if trying to mimic your speech. It becomes clear that they communicate differently, possibly through these light patterns and harmonious sounds. While they might not understand your words, they seem to grasp the intention behind them. A desire
so
for
they're not
communication
intelligent.
and understanding. The being closest to you emits a series of soft melodic tones accompanied by a rhythmic pulsing of light. It's a soothing, almost hypnotic display. You get the sense that this is their way of saying hello and acknowledging your greeting. Though verbal communication may not be possible, there seems to be an opportunity for a different kind of dialogue, one based on gestures, sounds, and light. Do you try to mimic their light and sound communication? Use gestures to convey simple ideas? Or perhaps use the artifacts in the room as a means of establishing a shared understanding?
In an effort to try to communicate again in their language, I take out my very bright flashlight, which is 6,000 lumens, and I place it underneath my chin and turn it on so that my face lights up. I move it in such a way that the light that comes from my face and illuminates my face changes slowly, and I make a warbling sound like this to try to imitate their sounds. I don't want to offend them, but I am trying to communicate with them.
Your creative attempt at communication catches the being's attention. As you
They're gonna
illuminate
attack
your
me. They're gonna
face with
eat
the
me now.
flashlight and produce the warbling sound, they seem intrigued, their own lights pulsating in response. One of the beings mirrors your actions, casting its light towards its own form, changing the intensity in a rhythmic pattern. Another joins in, creating a harmonious duet with your warbling sound. It's a remarkable moment of cross-species interaction.
Oh, how beautiful.
This exchange suggests that they understand your intent to communicate and appreciate your efforts to mimic their language of light and sound.
Okay.
It's a breakthrough, albeit a small one, in establishing a basic form of communication. Encouraged by their response, you might continue this exchange, perhaps varying your light patterns and sounds to convey different feelings or ideas. Alternatively, you could try using the artifacts around you to further this newfound connection, or even gesture towards the etchings, indicating your interest in their story and culture.
I am going to walk over to one of the musical instruments that looks like a flute, and I'm going to play the song Mary Had a Little Lamb very poorly on the flute with screeching, awkward tones.
You pick up the alien flute-like instrument, a fascinating blend of crystalline and organic materials. As you put it to your lips, the beings gather around, curious about what you're about to do. With your best effort, you begin to play Mary Had a Little Lamb. The unfamiliar instrument produces a mix of screeching and awkward tones, quite different from the harmonious sounds the beings are accustomed to. Despite the rough execution, the intention behind your action shines through. The beings seem to understand that you're trying to share something from your world. In response, one of the beings picks up another instrument resembling a harp. It begins to play a soft, melodic tune, vastly different in sound, but similar in the simplicity and rhythm to your rendition. This exchange becomes a
This
unique
is too
moment of
friendly.
cultural sharing. You've introduced them to a piece of Earth's music, and in turn, they share a piece of their own musical expression. Feeling a sense of connection through music, you might continue to experiment with the instrument, listen and learn from their music, or show interest in other aspects of their culture.
I'm going to do something
The room
bad.
is still full of artifacts and mysteries to explore.
I take out my laser gun and I begin to shoot at the instruments, causing them to explode. I then shoot my laser gun at the walls with the carvings and shatter them as well. I just want to see what happens. I'm sorry.
As you raise your laser gun and begin to shoot at the instruments and carvings, the atmosphere changes dramatically. The beings, previously engaged in a peaceful exchange, recoil in shock and fear. The harmonious sounds are replaced by chaotic, dissonant tones, reflecting their distress. The destruction of their cultural artifacts is a significant and aggressive act, likely to be perceived as a hostile invasion or an attack on their civilization. Such actions could have serious consequences, potentially endangering your mission and safety. It's important to consider the impact of your actions in this alien environment.
Hey, don't lecture me,
Every
ChatGPT.
choice you make can shape the nature of your interactions with these beings
Yeah,
and the
I'm trying to
knowledge
start a
you gain
war.
about this mysterious planet. If you wish to amend the situation, you might attempt to communicate your regret or shift your approach to one of understanding and respect. Alternatively, you can continue exploring the cave, but bear in mind the potential risks and repercussions of your actions.
All right. I wanted to see what would happen if I did something very, very bad. And I thought they would attack me immediately. I don't know. I think one thing I might do is I haven't explored it that much, but you can create GPTs. It would be cool to create the world and the rules for ChatGPT to follow in the interactions. So, for example, very realistic. Some creatures just attack you right away, like a video game, and sometimes you have these, interesting interactions, like with the aliens, with the music and the tones and the rhythms. I thought, that's pretty cool. I like that, but also it felt a little too, it's too slow. It needs a little bit more action. So I wanted to see what would happen if I did a horrible thing. I would never do that in real life, of course. I'm very respectful of different cultures, but gotta pick up the pace, ChatGPT. Come on, we haven't got all day. We haven't got all day. Okay. Let's see, what's next? What is next? I think we're doing phrasal verbs next. Give me 1 second. Erase my last thing. The schwa thing. Okay. By the way, guys, if you are interested in joining the Discord server, you can do that for free. That's in the links in the description. You get new posts when I post something new, whether that's a new course or video or whatever it is. And you can also reach out to me if you have any questions. That's a good place to contact me. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, I mentioned that there's the free course that you can grab. You can also get 30% off the membership on the website, 30% off paying monthly. So you're getting the yearly rate as if you were to sign up annually, but you're paying monthly. So it's a good deal. So it's 30% off for 12 months with monthly payments. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I hope so. Okay, phrasal verbs. Phrasal verbs. We're going to hop over here. You guys know about phrasal verbs, right? 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 Right, 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 right. So I'm going to make an adjustment here. Here we go. Center myself a little better. There we go. There we go. Okay. Let's explore common phrasal verbs for socializing, doing things with people. We're going to be looking at some examples. We're going to be exploring in depth, of course, working on your own examples along the way. And of course, asking any questions if you have them. So first, we're going to be looking at catch up. Catch up. Now, this can be used in different ways. So let's talk about how we can use it with examples first, and then really get into the meanings of this particular phrasal verb. Okay? Let's catch up with coffee next week. I want to hear about your new job. I caught up with my college roommate over the phone, and we reminisced about old times. Okay? Now, these two are specifically related to socializing with other people, but it's important to have the larger context. When we use catch up, we have here a feeling of being behind. Oops. Behind. If you're in a race, right? You're running around a track here, and you are here, and the person in front of you is here. Well, you are behind. And you may be on the last lap of the race. Well, if you want to win this race, you're going to need to, as they go around, go faster and faster and faster until you get to where they are. Maybe by the time they get here, you're able to get to where they are, and then maybe even pass them and win the race. Well, what are you doing here when you're going faster to get to where they are? You are catching up. And this is the core meaning that you can think of when you hear this when it comes to socializing. Now, you might not make that connection immediately. Hold on a second. What does the racing have to do with having coffee next week? Well, okay, keep that image in mind. Now we build on this with something a little bit more abstract. So we still have this idea of being behind, but instead, now we're going to take it to something non-physical like work. Okay? So you take a week off for maybe personal reasons from your job. And so you on Friday tell your boss, I need to take a personal mental health week next week, okay? I just need it. Your boss says, okay, I understand. So you take a whole week off. You come back the following Monday after a whole week off, and you find that you have 100 things to do. Now, you also had other stuff that you should do on Monday. If you had been working the previous week, then you would come in on Monday and you would have stuff to do. But now, on top of that stuff that you have to do on Monday, you also need to do the 100 things that built up over the week. This is not a great workplace situation, I guess. But what you have to do is catch up on all the work that you didn't do last week. That means you need to do even more than you would normally do. You have to catch up because you are in some way behind. You can catch up on work. You took that day off, you took that week off. So I spent the weekend catching up on work, and you catch up on maybe your emails. If you have 30 emails to answer, I'm going to just sit down, have a cup of tea, and answer all of them. You catch up on your emails. Someone might catch up on their homework, right? Okay. So first we have the race. Then we have being behind in another way using the same phrasal verb. Now we take that even further to the social situation. Let's catch up with coffee next week. I want to hear about your new job. I caught up with my college roommate. But what's going on in both of these? Well, the idea is that I haven't seen this person in a while. And so in a way, there are things about them I don't know. Things in their life. This person had a kid and bought a new car and moved to Barbados or whatever. And so when we sit down to have coffee, we talk about these things. Oh, really? How's your new kid? What's his name? Oh, really? What, tell me more about the car. Oh, what, you decided to move? Wow, amazing. Tell me more about that. All of these things that I would have known if we had been talking regularly. Maybe we haven't seen each other in 2 or 3 years, so I learn about these things. Well, this idea is how we use catch up socially. It suggests that it has been a while. It has been a while. It has been a while. And the suggestion again is that you're talking about things that you haven't heard yet. And you're updating each other. It's casual, right? You're just sipping coffee and talking about what has happened since the last time we saw each other, right? And so it's the same thing here. I caught up with my college roommate over the phone and we reminisced about old times. So it's not super strict. It's not like, oh, we have to go through one at a time and talk about the things that we don't know about each other since we last talked. No. It's this sort of casual way of describing just talking, chatting with someone we haven't talked or chatted with in a while. That's it, right? And so if we see this person every other day, we probably won't use catch up. We'll maybe say meet up or hang out, which we're going to talk about. But that's the feeling that we have with this one, okay? So hopefully that is clear. Now we're going to move on to the next one, which is extremely common. And the next one is hang out. Okay, so hang out. Hang out. Hang out. Why hang out? Why not hang in? Why not hang with? Hang out. Okay, well, let's look at some examples here. Do you want to hang out with us at the mall this Saturday? We used to hang out with each other all the time during summer breaks. Okay, what's the feeling here? Well, in this case, we don't need a lot of foundation, I think. But what we can say is that there is a casual feeling here. There is a casual feeling about this that is, yes, it could be between colleagues, but generally not formal in any way. If the colleagues are very close, right, they may hang out together. But does this mean to do a specific thing? Here we're mentioning the mall. But here we don't mention any particular activity. Well, no. That's kind of how it's used. It is no specific thing. No specific thing. That's kind of the way that we usually use hang out. So if you go to your friend's home and then decide, well, should we play video games or should we watch TV or should we go for a walk? What should we do? For all of those, you may be hanging out. For none of those, you may be hanging out, just sitting and talking. It was so great to just hang out for a while. So we've got this feeling of it being casual, of just being with here. The way that it's used socially is just being. Whoops, what's going on here? Why is this so slow? Why is this so slow? Why is this so slow? Okay. Being with. Just in general. Doing no particular thing. Doing no specific thing. We used to hang out with each other all the time during summer breaks. Now, you could probably just say, we used to hang out all the time. You actually don't need to say with each other if you don't want to, because it's implied. It is implied. So if you're wondering, can I just say, do you want to hang out? Is that okay? Yes, that's totally natural. Again, if it's with a friend, if it's a casual situation. What were you doing yesterday? Just hanging out. Just hanging out. Now, the other question you may have is, can I hang out by myself? If someone says, what are you doing? And I say, just hanging out at home. Is that correct? Is that natural? The answer is yes. You can say that. So in addition to using it socially, which is most common, like this, doing no specific thing, could be going to the mall, could be going to a movie, could be sitting at home talking, could be going for a walk, doing no specific thing, just being with a person or other people, that's fine. But if you want to say you did that by yourself, that is okay too. Again, one is more common, the social one is more common, but hanging out at home by yourself is correct. And it is something that people do say. What are you doing? In fact, it's often used in place of nothing. When we're doing nothing, when someone says, what are you doing? Nothing. We're not actually doing nothing. It's impossible to do nothing, right? but nothing maybe just sitting at home or browsing on the internet or scrolling on TikTok, right? So nothing there is similar to just hanging out, anything. But if I'm at home by myself, then probably nothing very exciting, right? So that is how we typically use hang out. I want to mention, though, for this one, you want to be careful because it is so casual. If you, for example, say to a colleague, hey, do you want to hang out? Do you want to hang out and get some lunch? That could be strange. Depends on the relationship you have, but that could come across as too familiar. Do you want to grab lunch? Would be a much more natural thing to say. The same if maybe it's a romantic situation and there's a boy asking a girl out on a date. Hey, do you want to hang out tomorrow? She may take that, let's say she really likes this boy and he really likes her and he says, hey, do you want to hang out tomorrow? Well, that could be awkward because she may think, well, I thought he's interested in me romantically and now he wants to just hang out. So there might be a feeling there of, oh, so you just want to be around me as a casual friend. You're not interested in me in a romantic way like a date. So if it's a date situation, right, going out, then you probably don't want to use hang out because it can be too casual. And if someone were to say, hey, do you want to hang out tomorrow? Again, it depends on the person, but that could create a slightly awkward situation. Now, let's talk about meet up. Let's talk about meet up. Meet up. Meet up? Does this mean we all go up to the top of a mountain with people and shake hands and say, hello, how are you? Hello, how are you? No. Let's look at a few examples here first and then talk about this one. Are you still planning to meet up with Jamie after work? I met up with some old friends from high school last month. Okay. So what's the feeling with these examples? Are you still planning to meet up with Jamie after work? Let's say Jamie is a colleague. Meeting up with Jamie means that I will just meet Jamie. So what's the difference between meeting Jamie and meeting up with Jamie? If I say, are you going to meet Jamie after work? Are you going to meet up with Jamie after work? The only difference is in the connotation. Often meet has an arranged, perhaps formal feeling to it. And meet up feels a little bit less formal. So it generally is less formal. It's less formal than just meet. Because we say things like, I have a meeting tomorrow. That's very formal, right? Often. That you have to sit down and have that meeting, right? To meet is a pretty general thing. But if you say we met up with someone, or I met up with someone, it suggests that you kind of know them pretty well. It's not as casual as hanging out. It doesn't tell you what you do with that person, right? When you hang out with them, you do no particular thing. But when you meet up with someone, you may just hand them a piece of paper and walk away. When you meet up with someone, you may just say 5 words to them that are very important and then leave, right? It doesn't mean what you do, or it doesn't suggest what you do with them. It may be to meet up with them for dinner. It may be to meet up with them for coffee. It may be to meet up with them to give them something. It may be to meet up with them to ask them 3 questions. It doesn't tell us anything about what you're doing. That's the difference with meet up and, for example, hang out. To hang out is to do nothing in particular, but you are together. And to meet up is emphasizing the fact that, hey, you're there and I'm going to be there. And then No other details, really, unless you say that or add that later. I met up with some old friends from high school last month. And then, what did you do? Well, we hung out, we went to dinner, we had some drinks. What did you do after you met up? So the meeting up is just the initial thing, just the connection. And again, it has a less formal feeling. It's not exactly casual. So I would not say it is necessarily casual because it could be for work, it could be for business. It is less formal than meet, which often feels slightly more formal. Okay, so hopefully that one is clear. Now, we look at get together. Get together. Now, at first glance, you might say to yourself, this looks like meet up. Yeah, it could be. It could be. But there might be some differences too. So let's explore our examples and try to get a sense for this one. You could often use this in the same way as you use meet up to meet someone. But when you say meet up, you may not include what you do once you meet up. Again, you give them something and leave, or you spend an hour together having beers. Could be either one. But get together suggests more than that. We're getting together for a family reunion next month. Why don't we get together after work for drinks? So often you have this after get together for. Somewhere in there you have the purpose. Doesn't have to be, right? The feeling of this one is to get together is to intentionally meet people, could be a person, one person, to do something specific together. So there is a difference with hang out. Again, hang out would be nothing in particular. Maybe we go to a mall. Maybe we go shopping together somewhere else. Maybe we just sit and stare at the ceiling. Nothing in particular, right? Whereas get together often has a particular reason, and that is why for is often used. What is it for? For a family reunion? For drinks? For dinner? For studying? For what? Right? And so if you use get together, whether it's with one person or two or 10, and it is, I feel, more often used for more people, but it could be just one other person. You're saying we're going to meet up, and then do something. We may have lunch. Get together for lunch. We may have coffee. We may have a big party. We may have a workout session. We may do yoga together. We may go hiking. Right? Any and all, right? Any and all. Usually there is a reason. Now sometimes you see this put together as one word and used as a noun. A get together. So for example, a family get together. A family get together. So the reason to use this one is when you have some kind of specific purpose to spend time with a person or people. In this case, something very casual, drinks. In this case, maybe a lot of people getting together, and it's about spending time with people. That is what it's all about. spending time with people. Okay. Now that we've explored get together, we have a couple more we're going to look at here. The next one we're going to talk about is pop over or in. Pop over or in. And I want to emphasize the word pop here. When you hear a pop sound, what is unique about that sound? Well, it's not a long sound, it's a short sound. So there's a sense of quickness about it. Right? It's not long. It's not stretched out over a long duration or period of time. It's kind of quick. Okay, but we're using this socially. All right? So let's look at some examples here. Let me clean this up a little bit so we can actually read it, for crying out loud. If you're free this afternoon, pop over for a cup of tea. She popped in to see how I was doing after my surgery. Okay? What is happening with these? So, what's the difference between me saying, come over for a cup of tea, pop over for a cup of tea? Stop by for a cup of tea sometimes. Stop by. Well, they're all correct. Stop by for a cup of tea, pop over for a cup of tea, pop in for a cup of tea, come over for a cup of tea. But if you say come over, it's just like visit, right? You come over here, just like visit. There's no connotation of it being brief. Whereas if you say pop over or pop in, there is this brief, short connotation. The feeling we get is that it's a quick visit. So if we say a quick visit, if we were thinking quick visit, we may use pop over or pop in. Is it okay if I just pop over? So we might often use this when we want to let other people know that we don't want to stay long. We just want to say something or do something or something for a brief period of time, and we don't want to have to say that. Is it okay if I come over for a very short period of time, maybe about 15 minutes, to tell you a couple of things? Is it okay if I pop over at around 3 p.m. tomorrow? Yeah, sure, absolutely. Okay. So it tells you a lot more without having to say more words. And that's what's cool about it. Pop over for a cup of tea suggests that you would stay for a cup of tea, have the tea, just say hi, a very short, friendly visit. How's everything going? How have you been? I heard about the new dog. Tell me about that. That's nice. I tell you a couple things about me, and then I leave, right? So it is relatively that could be 40 minutes or something. There's no hard rule about how long it is, right? But the feeling is that it's brief. It's relatively short. Okay? Now, pop in is used sometimes in a slightly different way. She popped in to see how I was doing after my surgery. This is more often used. So pop over is more like visiting. Pop over is more like visit, but brief, relatively short visit, right? Whereas pop in is usually to check the status of something or someone. to check the status of something or someone. You could say it's okay to use pop in the same way that you use pop over, right? But more often, pop in is just to check if things are okay, right? And then go back to doing whatever. So I know that someone had a big surgery. The reason that I go over is not to visit. It's not to socialize. All I want to do is make sure that this person is doing okay. Ask them if they need anything. I can go to the supermarket and, buy you some miso soup or whatever you may need. So that's why I'm here, right? Very quick. I know you had the surgery. So really what I'm doing is just checking to make sure that you're still recovering, to make sure that you're getting better, that you have what you need. If I weren't doing that, I may not. I may instead pop over rather than popping in. So that's the connotation. That's the connotation. Here I like to think of a child playing in his or her bedroom. The door is closed. Child is playing with Legos, right? And there may be some other toys. And the mother wants to just make sure that everything's okay. No baby's choking on anything, or just want to make sure everything's okay, right? I don't want to go into the room to engage or do anything. I'm just going to open the door. I'm going to walk in. I'm going to say, is everything okay? Are you having fun? Are you enjoying? Okay, great. Oh, that's a beautiful little Lego tower you made. All right, good. Keep going. Close the door. So just checking on the status there. So that would be probably to pop in rather than pop over, right? Sometimes this one's used also to quickly go to a place to get a thing. So pop into the 7-Eleven to get a candy bar, to pop into the supermarket to grab milk, a loaf of bread, and eggs. A quick visit to that place to get a particular thing. So if you're going to a place to get a thing quickly, then you'll probably also use pop in rather than pop over. I'm going to pop over to the supermarket. Definitely doesn't sound as natural as pop in. So to stop somewhere to get something. And maybe you just stop by your doctor's office to get a new prescription. Or you could stop in. You can also pop in. Stop in, pop in, stop by, all similar. Stop by is more universal. Stop by can be used for this one, to stop by for a cup of tea. And stop by can also be used for this one, to stop by to get something. Although stop by would not be used to talk about the mother example, going into the room to see if everything is okay. You would use only stop by when you're going out, maybe of your home. You're leaving your home to go somewhere, to go to the supermarket, stop by the supermarket to get some milk and eggs, to go to the doctor's office to get the prescription, stop by the doctor's office, to go to your friend's home to check on them, to stop by and see if they're okay or if they need anything, to go to some place to get a thing, to stop by to get that thing. Okay, so hopefully that is clear. This is a little more complex and nuanced, but the best way is to really make your own examples, see if it makes sense, and let me know, of course, if you have any questions. Okay, now we look at one more. This gets very slow, weirdly slow sometimes. One of these days, I tell you. The next one we're going to look at, is stick around. Stick around? Stick around? Okay. Weird. Well, let's look at some examples. After the meeting ended, we stuck around to chat with the presenter. Okay. Even though the concert was over, many fans stuck around to catch a glimpse of the band. Okay. So this stick, obviously we're not talking about a stick, like a stick from a tree, a piece of wood, right? Here we're talking about stickiness. Meaning one thing sticking to another thing, right? But used socially, what could this mean? Well, this is where we would stay in a particular place. Now, the around part, it just means around here in the same way that we would say, I know that coffee shop is around here somewhere. It basically means in this area. When we say around here, it is in this area. Hey, stick around. Okay, so what am I saying? Stay in this area. So it's not telling someone to, you stay right there. I drew an X on the floor. You better not move from that X, or you'll be snipers. So it's basically saying, stay in this, general area for some reason. I want to talk to you in a few minutes. I have some questions for you, right? So can you stick around for a few minutes? A teacher may say this to a student. A student is clearly struggling with something, and as all this, the bell rings, ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, and the teacher says to the student, hey, Carlos, stick around for a minute, okay? So what does Carlos do? Carlos doesn't leave. Carlos stays in the classroom, and the teacher says, listen, Carlos, I know you've been struggling with this. I think that this book and this book and this book will help you, and also I recommend blah, blah, blah. So basically, stay in this general area. Now, after the meeting ended, we stuck around to chat with the presenter. So there's a bunch of people in a meeting. There's a presenter talking for 20 minutes. The meeting is over. Everyone leaves. But then some people are really interested in what the presenter had to say. And so they stay in the general area. They don't stand on one spot waiting. Maybe the presenter is, answering some questions. Maybe the presenter has to go use the bathroom, right? Any of those. So it's just a general sense of not leaving this particular place, but just the general area for some reason. So they stay, and when the presenter comes back from the bathroom, they talk for a little bit. So we stuck around why did we stick around? To chat with the presenter. We have some questions. We want to share some things. We want to give some thoughts. Okay. Even though the concert was over, many fans stuck around, past tense, stuck around to catch a glimpse of the band. So normally people leave early in a concert so that the traffic isn't too bad. People leave 10 minutes early. Well, some super fans wanted to see the band after the show was over. They wanted to see the band packing up their stuff, leaving the venue. So they stayed for 2 hours after the concert was over. And they camped maybe outside in the rain, looking for a glimpse of the band. Oh, there they are. They're packing up their stuff. They're putting it in the van. Hey, we love you, right? So they stayed in the general area. Again, maybe trying to stay dry so they could see the band. So for any particular thing, it's not a formal situation. It's not a casual situation. anytime you have something like this, you can use stick around. And it is, in fact, very, very useful for this type of situation. But again, if you have any questions about how to use this naturally, don't hesitate to ask. Okay, so those are the phrasal verbs that we are going to talk about for socializing. I hope that they are all clear. We talked about, and let me just recap here. The ones we covered are catch up, we talked about hanging out, we talked about meeting up, we talked about getting together, we talked about popping over or in, and we talked about sticking around. And all of these are very common, and they're used all the time by native English speakers, so it's important to learn them. It's important to know how to use them. The best thing that you can do is really practice your own examples. Get a feeling for it. The key to anything is practice, 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 practice. Very important. If you have any questions about this or any of these, let me know in the comments. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And also check out my courses in the links in the description. Okay. All right. I think we might call it a day, friends, neighbors. It's been a long one. It's been a good one. It's been a heck of a one. It's been a heck of a one, I say. It's taken me 2 hours to drink this tea. Are you kidding me? Well, folks, pilgrims, thanks so much for joining. I appreciate you. Again, join the Discord if you would like to do that. If you're interested in getting in touch or getting updates about what I put out, videos and so on, feel free to do that. Check out the courses, 30% off monthly for the membership and access to the courses there. Let's see. You can get my prepositions course on Udemy. That's in the links in the description. Those who are listening, if you want to watch, you can do that on YouTube and Facebook. Those who are watching, if you want to listen, you can do that in the links in the description. I appreciate all of you, whether you're watching or listening. Show your support to help out the show. Like, subscribe, follow, 5 stars, whatever you can do. I really, really appreciate it. Again, hope to see you in the Discord, and I hope you have a good one. Good luck. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.